So it's an organization, we're celebrating our 25th year of service to urban Indigenous people here in Edmonton and area. We have a range of services for babies all the way up to seniors in employment, housing, early childhood development. Well, I think the reason we're here is because when the organization was founded 25 years ago, there were services similar to what we provide, but they were not services that were specific for serving Indigenous people, and so didn't incorporate knowledge, ceremony, worldview, those types of things into the curriculum and the whatever the service was. And so our organization's founders were about providing a service that was going to speak to the people who were receiving that service. And so they put a lot of thought and care into our methodology to service delivery, so that when people came, they would be more likely to stay, more likely to complete, and more likely to sort of be able to take that out into the community when they went out there. Well, my roles evolved. So I came to the organization not long after they started it. I was fresh out of Grant MacEwan, just finished the Child and Youth Care program, and I came to the organization as a brand new youth worker, ready to work with Indigenous youth. And at the time, coincidentally, they were starting up their very first group home. And so I started as a youth worker. I eventually became a group home supervisor, and then we got more programs, more group care programs, and so I became a program manager. And then after a number of years, as the organization grew, and I evolved with that growth and became a senior manager, which I was in that position up until our founders left the organization. When Shauna passed away, that's when, not long after, is when I became the executive director. So about 11 years ago now. It's just work that speaks to my soul. Even if it's hard, I know what the end game is, and I am all about the end game. And I don't think I'll see the end game in my time here, because it's a lot what we're trying to do. But I have seen us do nothing but move forward in all the 24 years that I've been here. And that's what keeps me going and I am also with some really like-minded people here in the organization. So we've been able to get some really wonderful people in the organization, and we talk to them and teach them about the way we want to see ourselves doing the work, and they sign on, just as I signed on 24 years ago. They sign on to doing things, the way we think is going to get us moving forward. Well, we've grown. So we were just one little tiny program when I first started with the organization, and we now have I can't even remember how many we have, 16, 17 programs and services. We have about 200 staff in the organization. But the biggest thing I'll say is that we have always practiced the way we've practiced here, keeping culture at the center of our work, incorporating our worldview into our practice, and doing things very culturally here, in a culturally relevant way. And that's worked for us. It's worked for us all the way through. What I think has changed so much lately is that our colleagues and partners out in the community now, they're leaning in, they're listening with different ears. So credibility isn't the right word, but it's something like that, or validation, maybe that's a better word. So having this camp is just more validation when I look at that room, the gym, and how packed it is, and how engaged people are, and on the breaks, how many people are coming to me, so excited to tell me what's resonating with them, what's speaking to their soul, how they think they can take this back to their organization and incorporate it into what they're doing. To see that excitement is just, it's really gratifying, because we've been saying it for all the time, right? We live it here, we live it every day. But to hear our colleagues get excited about it is really something else. So this is our third annual. So it's 2019. So 2016 was our first our first camp. And it really came out of the research that we did. And the research is, there's a knowledge dissemination part to every research project, right? And so we've gotten the product out of our research that we want, and now we need to share it with people. And we've just been really fortunate to get support from our funders to be able to provide this experience, because another reason that makes it hard is that our colleagues have limited resources as well. So to be able to say, we have this great product we want to share with you, but it's going to cost you, right? We're able to put this camp on, and the cost isn't the barrier. We were very deliberate and thoughtful in planning the camp, so we deliberately chose a Thursday and a Friday, which are 2 work days for our colleagues, so that they can incorporate it into their work day, right? Because you could say to your staff, I could say to my staff, oh, there's all this great stuff going on the weekend. That's their time. And if they go, great. But if they don't, like, as their employer, I don't have any recourse on that, right? But so we deliberately chose Thursday and Friday so that they could come and have it incorporated into their workday and their professional development and personal development too. And then we have 2 days on the weekend. So the 2 days on the weekend are for the general public. They're for community. They're for families. They're for whoever wants to come. That's what it's for. And so we could see the lady who lives across the street, right? Not necessarily enrolled in any program here, but are curious. And I think that goes a long way when we're looking at reconciliation efforts and having our communities get to know one another and understand each other better. Because I think that's the piece that's missing. There's this real gap in our knowledge. There's black and white sad stories in history books. And then there's some really sort of damaged people that are really visible out in our communities, and the disconnect is huge. And we have so many. I always say we have a really great prequel, right? So when you look at this bad stuff that's in the history books, there's thousands of years of goodness before that, and that's what we're trying to tap into and get back to. There definitely are people who are still really damaged and still really feeling those effects, but there's a whole lot of people as well that are in a place where they can manage their own healing but also assist, and I think that's the place that we're in right now. And so, you know, some of the things I tell our colleagues who really have that gap in their knowledge is there's so many of us out there that are doing okay, but we're not in the news, and we're not on the, you know, we're not sleeping on the park benches, or we're not so visible, and so we're invisible. And so if we're invisible, then I guess we don't exist, but we are. We're paying our mortgages. We're raising our kids in a good way. We're doing all the right things, and all the while still dealing with our own stuff. But there's way more of us than anyone would think. And that's the story I'd like people to get out there. We had a speaker yesterday who, and I don't know how long you were able to hear her, but she says we're all Indigenous people. Doesn't matter who you are. Some of us are 1,000 years removed from our earth-based teachings, is the way she said it, and it's true. But one of the things we know very clearly now is from newcomers to this land, recent newcomers to this land. They are as close as we are to their land-based teachings and their connections to the earth, and all of those worldviews we hold here as well. And so it's really easy for them to grasp onto what it is we're trying to do and why it's important. And it doesn't matter where they're from, because it's so universal, some of the things that we're talking about. And I think for people who've been here, settlers for a long, long time, we're in this age of change, right? Where we're at right now, the world is changing just so fast. Our millennials are coming up, and they're just ready for it, right? And they're ready to grab onto the next big thing. And so this is what it's become for some of the younger ones that are coming through here, is they're just ready for this, and they aren't I shouldn't say they're not questioning it. They are questioning it, but they're not dismissing it um, because that's not the way it's been done before. They're grabbing onto it and they're going to give it a try. And I'm just so incredibly grateful for the team that we have here that is making this magic happen here in the last 2 days and the next 2 days to come. And it's not just our cultural team by any means. They're sort of the grounding force in the work for sure. But the organization has really taken hold of this opportunity to host and show people what we have to share. And I just walk around with a big smile because you see it everywhere. You feel the excitement, and our staff are the reason. Like absolutely 100%. I think they look at me as a leader, and yeah, I'm a leader. I'm providing the I guess the environment for them to be able to to do the magic that they're doing, because it's really on them.